I'm Mark Eichman, along with Shirley Min and Nichelle Polston. The Markell administration wants to expand the nurse-family partnership in the next budget year. A look this week at how it works.
Congressman John Carney is here on First to talk about reforms in the Affordable Care Act and some politics, too.
Milford has a great shipbuilding past. First experience shows us. And we also report on the ghosts of the Cape May Lewis Ferry. First, your public media news magazine starts now.
We are less than a month away from a final state budget for Delaware. When he presented his spending plan, Governor Jack Markell's new programs grew the budget by less than 0.2%. One of the new programs the governor wants to add is an expansion of the nurse-family partnership. The program could be a better way to help first-time, low-income mothers improve their parenting skills. In our first look, we went along for a home visit to see how the program works.
Are you using a nebulizer at all anymore, or is it all gone?
It's a throwback to years gone by, the old house call with a twist. Nurses visit with new mothers, teaching them how to best raise their children and how to improve their own situation.
So our process starts during the mom's pregnancy. We like to get them enrolled before their 7th month of pregnancy, and then we continue visiting them until their target child reaches the age of 2.
During as many as 75 visits over the course of 2 years, nurses like Lauren Clark visit with single mothers like Soraya Ramos Morales, who we met in Georgetown.
It's been great, a wonderful experience. I've learned a lot with them.
Morales' son is just over a year old. She says through the home visits with Nurse Clark, she's learned how to better care for him.
Through the visit I get with Miss Lauren, we go through things like how to treat a child, like not abuse him, physical abuse, and give them hard punishment for something they do, because, I mean, they're a baby. And
Clark has also helped her develop goals for the future.
I always wanted to continue with school, and she has helped me to set the goal to accomplish it.
Some clients, before they've ever met with a nurse home visitor, may have never seen themselves able to set a goal or achieve a goal. So we begin usually with short-term goals so they can, feel a little bit of success and achievement, and then really, after they've been in the program for a while, focusing on those long-term goals that's going to really improve their outcome.
Including Clark, there are 9 nurses who make visits to about 200 mothers statewide in the program, which is run in Delaware by Children and Families First. In his State of the State address, Governor Markell issued a call for the program to grow.
I propose that we more than double the number of first-time mothers who were served in Delaware by this proven program. And that would give us a higher percentage of eligible mothers who are benefiting from this program than in any other state in America.
Oh, I'm absolutely excited about the initiative to increase our numbers.
Improving outcomes for young mothers has an economic benefit, too.
For every $1 public health dollar invested in nurse-family partnership, on your most vulnerable families, you can expect a $5 return. I mean, so that's substantial impact that it can make on, our state as a whole. And so, yeah, it's so exciting.
The results around the country have been stunning, including better academic performance, less juvenile delinquency, and better overall child health outcomes.
Soraya has another year in the program, and after that, she hopes to one day become an RN, maybe even a visiting nurse herself.
They are great people, especially Miss Lauren. She really has helped me through a lot of many things with my baby, and I think without her help, I wouldn't be here.
After 35 years of research into the results of the Nurse-Family Partnership Program, organizers say they've seen a 50% reduction in child abuse and neglect cases, as well as a decrease in preterm deliveries and dependence on welfare. That's why Governor Markell and Lieutenant Governor Matt Dehn are pushing for the program to expand. Dehn says while every first-time parent faces challenges in learning how to take care of their children, parents living in poverty really need the kind of help the Nurse-Family Partnership can provide.
Coming up on First, boats on display in Milford. It is one of 2 first experiences this week, and the Cape May Lewis Ferry has a ghostly past. We'll tell you what we mean. And a Delaware City blacksmith takes some 19th century know-how to craft some great 21st century work.
This week's First Person segment welcomes Congressman John Carney to our studio. Thanks for sitting down with us for this one-on-one, Congressman.
Great to be with you today.
You know, we're fresh off the Memorial Day holiday, a day to honor our servicemen and women, and we have this latest VA scandal, and it really stings. These allegations that veterans who were waiting on medical care died, particularly in Tucson, Arizona. What have you heard from the VA here in Ellesmere? I mean, we have 80,000 veterans here in Delaware.
Well, first of all, the Vice President likes to say that the only sacred obligation that the nation has is to prepare men and women when we send them to war and to take care of them when we get home. So it does sting. It really hurts, and it's very painful to find out that what's happening out in Phoenix. I think the real question is this an isolated situation, or do we have similar problems across the country? Our congressional delegation here in Delaware, Senator Carper, Senator Coons, and myself, we actually stay pretty close to the VA hospital here in Wilmington. I would be shocked, and I would feel violated at some level if there was something going on that we didn't know about.
There was an amendment to the Affordable Care Act that you introduced that recently passed in the House, and the measure exempts expatriate health care plans from Affordable Care Act requirements. Why is that significant to Delaware?
So what it's really about is jobs in Delaware. About a month ago, I was working out in the YMCA at Central Y, and a guy came up to me as I was on one of the machines, and he said, "Could I interrupt you for a second?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "I work for you. I'm your congressman." He said, "Well, I'd like to know the progress of H.R. 4414." And I paused for a minute, not knowing exactly what it was. And then I remembered, I said, "Well, why do you ask?" He said, "Well, I work for Cigna up on Namens Road, and I'm one of the folks that stands to lose our jobs if a permanent fix isn't made." The delegation has been working with the administration now for 3 years to get a special exemption for these plans. These are plans for people, U.S. citizens working overseas, so somebody for DuPont maybe who's working in Brazil or in Europe or China. It also includes non-U.S. citizens working here for a period of time in the U.S. So the provider network, the kinds of services they need are entirely different than someone who gets their health care here in Delaware in the United States. So we've been trying to get an exemption so that they can compete with their international counterparts, they meaning Cigna, and 3 other U.S. companies. And it means 400 to 500 jobs for Delaware.
That was going to be my next question. You know, the amendments, though, to what's referred to as Obamacare, those are tough to pass, not to mention you're a Democrat in a GOP-run House. So how do you get a piece of legislation like this through?
Well, it was extremely difficult. We had to work, obviously, with my colleagues on the other side in the House. Fortunately, this facility is located right on the state line, adjacent to Representative Pat Meehan's district. So Pat and I worked together as well as the delegation and other friends of mine on the Republican side. So we were able to get 280 votes, 60 Democratic votes. I mean, you're talking about a political backdrop where the members on my side are very reluctant to make changes. They say they want to fix the Affordable Care Act, but they are reluctant to make changes. And then on the other side, they want to repeal the whole thing. So trying to craft an amendment that threaded that needle was difficult. We were able to get it done, get it passed in the House. Now it goes to the Senate, and we hope Senator Carper and Senator Coons will work it there and get it signed by the President.
You're a member of the Financial Services Committee, and one issue you've been working on is housing finance reform. And there is a proposal on the table that would eliminate Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and sort of give a little more authority to the private sector. But there's a risk to the 30-year mortgage.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were taken over by the government. They're still in government conservatorship, which means basically the taxpayers on their line for any losses. That's not a very good situation. So I've been working for about, since I went to Congress, to find ways to protect taxpayers and to preserve affordability for homeowners. Been very difficult, again, in a very divisive political climate where our committee and the committee chairman, Mr. Henserling from Texas, he wants to have complete privatization, which we believe would jeopardize the availability of the 30-year fixed mortgage, make it much more difficult for people to afford that first home and subsequent homes.
Does it have a lot of support?
We actually do have a fair amount of support. There's the chairman, we don't think, has the support on his own side because members, Republicans, recognize how important that the 30-year fixed mortgage is to housing affordability and to getting the American dream.
Okay, we're going to be wrapping up shortly, but one more question up for re-election for a third term this year. What are you anticipating for the campaign?
Well, we'll go from one end of the state to the other, talking about what I'm trying to do in Washington, talking about trying to bring Democrats and Republicans together to bring what I call the Delaware way to Washington, which is putting our political differences aside and doing the best thing for the state, in my case, for the whole country. That's the approach that I've tried to take, and Delawareans that I talk to, that's what they want me to do.
Okay. Congressman John Carney, thank you so much for your time.
Great to
and
be with you.
Look forward to sitting down with you again in the future. This interview can be found online at newsworks.org/Delaware.
Milford has a rich shipbuilding past. Now that history is reshaping the downtown area too, First Experience this week takes us on a unique art tour based on the restored luxury yacht, the Augusta. It's a great way to get outside and see how some local artists turn these fiberglass sculptures into artwork that shows hometown history and pride.
The project is called Art on the Riverwalk Tour. The City of Milford's branding is Rivertown, Art Town, Hometown. On the Rivertown side part of it, we chose the Augusta, who was built here in 1927. She's a beautiful 55-foot wooden yacht that then left Milford and was discovered abandoned and derelict in 2010 by the Laughlands, and they restored her. On the Art Town side, we wanted a public art project. We also wanted, though, to work with local high school students. Art programs are being cut by schools, and we felt that this would be a way for professional artists to mentor some of the local high school students and give them a skill set that they could use going forward in life. The art project is going to be 18 boats. Each one is 4 foot long. The company that we ordered a ship from are called Cow Painters, and they're in Chicago. And they're very, very good, very, very professional. It's an all-woman-owned company. We gave them the drawings, and they made the form from our drawings. It wasn't something off the shelf, so this was all custom-made for us. They'll be located in downtown. 6 of them are already located in downtown Milford. The other 12 will be along the Riverwalk itself. Our philosophy in all of the projects we do is we want to work with a lot of different entities in Milford. So for example, on this project, we worked with the Mispillion Art League. That's where many of the artists came from. We worked with the Parks and Rec Department. We worked with the Milford High School. And then we worked with the Laughlands, who own the Vineyard Shipyard, who own Augusta. We've had people from New Jersey and Philadelphia come into town to maybe get a coffee at one of our local coffee shops or go into our art galleries, and then they see the forms themselves, the artworks themselves, and they're very impressed, and they bring friends back, and that's good.
Downtown Milford, Inc. is planning to add 6 more sculptures over the next 3 years. You can go to downtownmilford.org for more information. Speaking of more information, Milford is the topic for our first facts this week.
This June marks the 50th anniversary of the Cape May Lewis Ferry. There will be lots of stories marking milestones along the way. One of those stories will be the transition the ferry has made to more of a tourism-based organization. On the Lewis side, one of those nods to tourism takes on the supernatural. Operations on the Cape May Lewis Ferry start on the New Jersey side, and they start well before the sun is up. Engineers are down below deck level, making sure everything is operational for the many trips during the ferry's day.
Yes, Captain, this is Travis. Are you ready for the controls? Okay.
By the time the ferry gets into Lewis, a nice routine is developed. Travelers just waiting for the next ferry before continuing on their journey. As the sun sets, the work inside the Lewis terminal comes to an end, and the place is locked up tight.
The front door is locked.
Or is it?
I was here late at night helping my sister clean, and she says, Patsy, there's been some unusual things going on around here. So I had experienced myself when I was helping her where a dryer was going off by itself in the men's bathroom.
Whatever it is that likes to play around the bathrooms also likes to go through the kitchen, knocking over pots and pans, leaving a mess for the morning crew. Stories like that were enough to capture the attention of some Delaware ghost hunters.
The past is just the future with the lights on.
Delmarva Historic Haunts is the name of his group. When he moved to the area, it was this sign that caught his attention: Sailors Lost at Sea, and buried on the grounds of what is now the Lewis Terminal for the ferry.
I started questioning the staff, and they didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to see if there was any ghost stories. And man, I got all kinds of ghost stories, more than I ever thought I would ever have.
Those questions led to permission from the ferry to test for the supernatural, and this was the end result.
It's white, it moves like this, which I've seen before, but it's usually black or gray. I've never seen anything white like that. It glowed, it turned into different shapes, and then went into a ball and went that way.
This is the room during the daytime. It was added on a few years ago. Eventually, it will be permanently added to the building. Whether that has an impact on the light, the fact of the matter is, many believe it was something unique.
We've never gotten anything like that on film before. Usually 98% of our evidence is sounds. Very rarely you get anything on film.
Nobody will say what this was, but no matter. Ferry operations have now turned it into a tourist attraction.
So a few times a year we actually have what we call a paranormal event.
60 people join in a few times a year. Delmarva Historic Haunts will take people around the terminal to listen to the sounds and just maybe catch an image.
Well, that's just one more thing, one more reason to have a buzz about the ferry. I mean, this is interesting. You know, we're part of the history of Lewis, and we're considered the second most haunted place in the state of Delaware.
Do you know which haunted site comes in at number 1? Fort Delaware is the most haunted place in the state. The next Ghost Weekend won't be until September, but there are a lot of other ferry activities taking place as the 50th anniversary of the ferry approaches. You'll be hearing all about them here on First and at WHYY.
There's an old saying, by hammer and hand do all arts stand. It refers to the blacksmith, a person who once made some very important items that fit into everyday life. In Delaware City, Kerry Rhodes still lives by that saying. He shows off his metal craft in our bonus First Experience.
Well, I'm a blacksmith. Blacksmithing's defined by technique, not by any particular style or time period. So it's the techniques you use that make you a blacksmith. My mother was an art teacher. My dad taught me a lot about composition through photography. And my sister's an artist, my brother's an artist, my aunt was an artist, so kind of grew up in that environment. When I was a little kid, we used to go to a cabin up in New Hampshire that my grandparents had. We would go to the oldest crafts fair in the United States, and I would watch a blacksmith by the name of Joe Tucker. So that's how I got my interest as a kid, and then about 25 years ago is when I started. I tried it and took a Weber grill and knocked the bottom out and put a hair dryer on it, and that was the start of all this. I had no skill when I started, so it just basically started as a hobby. It was just a lot of practice. Then the custom work started coming in, so I used that as a vehicle to kind of learn my craft. You know, you wouldn't make any money because it takes you a lot longer to make something when you don't know what you're doing that well. lot of people don't have the opportunity like I did when I was a kid. We would go to craft shows and things, and so I was exposed to a lot of art. And a lot of people don't have that. You know, their parents don't go to art shows or they don't go to craft shows, things like that. So by opening up in a town, a lot of people would never have the experience of seeing what a blacksmith shop is or even does. It's kind of exciting to see, you know, young kids come in and parents and just, you know, they had no idea that this even existed or how it's done, or so it's a nice way to give back to the community. I mean, I've been doing it for 25 years, and even when I'm not working, I like doing it. There's always something to learn. I like it all.
If you want to learn more about blacksmithing, Kerry offers classes year-round. Go check out his website, forgedcreations.com, to learn more.
Next week on First, we join with the pages of Delaware Today for a content partner report. D-Day took place 70 years ago next weekend. Kevin Noonan wrote a story on how his father was a part of that invasion force. We'll talk to him next week.
And don't forget to check us out online at WHYY.org/first or on the radio on WHYY FM 90.9. That is First for this week. We thank you for watching. For Nichelle Polston and Shirley Min, I'm Mark Eichman. Before we go, we offer another peek inside the McIlvaine Early Childhood Center in Magnolia, where a new language immersion agreement was announced with Spain on Tuesday. Have a great week.
Wilmington residents can now sign up for free emergency text and email alerts directly from the Wilmington Police Department. The department can now issue alerts which will simultaneously call landline phones, send text messages and email, and post to social media. The service is free for subscribers and registration is easy. Simply text your zip code to 888-777 or register online at nixle.com, where you can customize alert settings and choose to receive email and web alerts as well. With Nixle, you know.
In our global economy, we can greatly expand opportunities available to our kids if we recognize the advantages of speaking multiple languages. So 2 years ago, we launched a world language immersion program in which students can take half of their subjects in Chinese or Spanish, starting in kindergarten, and the response has been phenomenal. More than 800 of our youngest students can talk about their school day in more than one language. By next year, more than 1,500 will be able to do so. And nearly all of the students' parents have agreed that our 7 Spanish and 3 Chinese programs enrich their child's education. As one Spanish immersion teacher said, it's amazing to see 5-year-olds arrive in kindergarten unable to write their name, and by the end of the year have a conversation in 2 different languages. By 4th grade, students will be proficient, and by the 9th grade, they'll be able to pass an advanced placement language class. And they'll succeed because of great educators. We're working with our colleges to train more language teachers while building relationships with China and Spain. And I was proud to welcome Spain's United States ambassador to McIlvaine Early Childhood Center, where we renewed a partnership that has brought dozens of Spain's best teachers to our schools, and that's allowed us to send Delaware teachers to training programs in Spain. Ambassador Gil Casares emphasized that hundreds of Spanish companies invest in the United States, and you can't overestimate the importance of languages in determining where they'll create jobs. By giving students the chance to start language training early, we'll help them make the most of their talents and will keep Delaware moving forward.